Member for Mallee.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Australia is at a turning point, and the ship of state is rudderless under a weak leadership of this Prime Minister, who is more focused on accusing the Leader of the Opposition of the very division that on his watch the Albanese Labor Government has not only facilitated but allowed to fester. Worse still, the Prime Minister and Treasurer Chalmers' economic mismanagement, again on their watch, sees Australians' living standards collapsing. Families and pensioners are struggling to make ends meet, making sacrifices just to afford the weekly shop and cover their rent or mortgage. The Albanese Labor Government's wasteful spending has driven up inflation and interest rates, resulting in mortgages, rents, power bills, groceries, insurance, health, and education going up to a point most simply cannot afford. For instance, under the Albanese Labor Government, a family with a typical mortgage has spent an additional $50,000 of interest since the Prime Minister came to power. Since Mr Albanese became Prime Minister, Australian living standards have fallen further than anywhere in the developed world, 8.7% on the latest data. The International Monetary Fund projects that this year Australia will have the second highest inflation of any developed country after the Slovak Republic. Respected economics firm Deloitte say Australian standard of living will not recover until at least 2030. Core inflation remains at 3.2%, outside the Reserve Bank's target band of 2 to 3%. Australians are experiencing the longest sustained period of inflation since the 1980s. We've been in a household recession for 21 long months. The Coalition will deliver lower inflation through a stronger economy and responsible economic management. We will stop wasteful spending, reduce taxes, and cut red tape, easing cost of living pressures for families and businesses. Energy prices are a major driver of pressures on the cost of living and cost of doing business. And Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Energy Minister Chris Bowen promised Australians some 97 times that by 2025, household energy bills would be reduced by $275. Now, in early 2025, that pledge has officially been broken. A one-off relief over 4 quarters simply doesn't cut the mustard. Labor is also robbing regions to buy votes in the cities. In my first term as the member for Mallee, I secured over $2 billion in funding for Mallee. Over the same 3-year period, Labor has barely invested $1 for every 20 I secured. It gets worse, Deputy Speaker. My fellow regional Victorians suffer the double whammy of 2 on-the-nose Labor governments under Prime Minister Albanese and Premier Allen, who together use regional Australia as a doormat. Even when fires burned in my electorate, the Prime Minister and Premier did a quick flyover the Grampians. The Leader of the Opposition, on the other hand, visited fire-affected communities like Halls Gap with me on the ground. Mallee is not a dumping ground for bad policy. Labor is railroading regional communities with deeply unpopular energy projects, fast-tracking approvals while their shambolic locomotive gathers steam. Mallee's regional communities are tied to the railroad track, screaming for their city cousins and the media metropolitans Australians rely on to pay attention before it is too late. Thankfully, Witcher-proof raised Peter Credlin on Sky News is raising the alarm on the national stage. Labor's deeply unpopular energy plans have been exposed, costing $600 billion according to Frontier Economics, compared with $263 billion under the Coalition, 44% cheaper. Sunraysia, Mallee and regional Australia deserve a fair go from Canberra, And I expect a return to government with the Nationals. We will get the country back on track.